Hello lads and lasses, and welcome to episode 58 of the Roker Rapport Podcast. We haven't had a game this week, but we have got Danny Collins in the studio, Brazilian. How are you doing, Danny?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Nice of you to come in.
No problem.
We've also got James Nichols, one of our editors. How are you doing, mate?
I'm great. Good today. I'm looking forward to the pod.
Good stuff. Connor Bromley, how are you doing?
I'm good. Do you want to get an introduction like former Sunderland player Danny Collins, editor Nichols, and then just Connor?
Blythe's own Connor Bromley.
Yeah.
Like Stokes, Bromley.
Like Stokes, yeah.
Right, so we'll go straight into questions for Danny Collins since we haven't had a game. It's quite nice actually not to be like depressed. Obviously we weren't depressed last week, but usually we sit here and we're like proper depression session, aren't we? So James, questions for Danny?
Yeah, we've got a few here. I was going to think about some memories first. Some memories of playing for Sunderland.
Yeah.
And obviously a couple of the first things that popped into my head was Stoke away, the game before you just moved.
Right.
Obviously you were captain at the time, played 90 minutes week in, week out, and then kind of came out as a shock, came in the news like a bit of a shock to Sunderland fans as the move was going ahead. And I remember that game that you didn't play the Stoke game, and I remember Bruce coming over like the away end next to the tunnel.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of stick, kind of quite a bit of stick from his fans, and then you came over and got like a hero's like goodbye really. Just want to ask about that game. And
yeah, looking back, it was a bit of a strange situation in the fact that, as you said, Steve had come in for pre-season. I think we went to the Amsterdam tournament that year. He made me the captain, obviously during pre-season out there. Came back, started the season, as you say, with the armband on, and we got off to a good start. I think 3 games in prior to the Stoke game, we won 2 of the first 3. I think we just beat Blackburn on the Saturday. So spirits are high in the camp. 6 points from the first 3 games, and Steve just called me in on the Tuesday, I think it was, maybe after training, and he just said, "Listen, I'm looking at bringing a couple more defenders in. I know you've done great here the last couple of years, but obviously, I'll be competition for places, and I can't sort of guarantee you'll be playing week in, week out." And mentioned that obviously Tony had been in touch with him and inquired about me. And he said, I'll leave you. I'll probably put you on the bench at the weekend when we go down there. Which again, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a strange one if you sort of find yourself out of the squad or on the bench and you're perhaps looking at getting away, because it was coming towards the end of the summer window, as it were, towards the end of August. So it was a bit out of the blue for me, really. I was enjoying it up here, loved it. Come off the back of a couple of good seasons, and having just had the armband as well, it was a big sort of honour for me to get the armband, and that was it. As you said there, we went down there. Stoke won 1-0. I was on the bench, and that was it. My agent came down after the game, met me, stayed down in the hotel, and the next day we went in, met Tony and the chairman at Stoke, and it was done and dusted. Yeah. Did
you find many similarities between playing for Sunderland and playing for Stoke? Are they kind of like similar clubs in stature, or?
Yeah, both sets of fans vocal, as you know. You've probably been down to Stoke's ground yourself. It's when they get behind the players down there, it's a good place to play football. Same as Stadium of Light, really. On good days when things are going well, it's a great place to play football, and it helps you along when you're out on the pitch. Yeah, it was different. I think they'd come up the year before. Stoke, they'd had a year in the Premier League the year before. New training ground was getting built. There was a lot going on there, and obviously Tony was progressing the club as a whole in terms of bringing new players in. Obviously Dino joined as well. Liam Lawrence, Lenny's, as we know him, joined at the same time. So there was faces that I knew there. I think obviously Rory had been up here as well. I'd spent, so Rory was there. So there was a lot of faces who I knew. It was just becoming a sort of a solid club down there, I think. And obviously the 3 years I had there, it sort of progressed each year. We had a cup final against Man City. They beat us 1-0, but it was a good experience to get to the final, Europa League, and sort of Tony took them up into a sort of solid mid-table Premier League team. But at the same time, it was a strange situation. I haven't been up here for 5 years. My wife from up here, and sort of felt settled, and then I found myself sort of moving to a new club. Yeah. At the same time.
Why do you think Stoke bought so many of them former Sunderland players? Like Kenwyne Jones went as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Did Pulis, ask players like yourself, the more senior pros, should we go for them sort of players?
Yeah, wherever I've been, you'll get managers who ask you if they're looking at someone from a club where you've been at, what do you think of him? Would he be a good asset if we bring him into the club and stuff like that? I mean, it's a bit like Liverpool with Southampton at the minute. They seem to be, taking a lot of their players, and I don't know if it's just that's how it happens type of thing. But again, at that time, as you say, obviously Danny Higginbottom was another one, wasn't he? Danny was up here. Danny went down there. He was there as well. So it was just red and white stripes, and we were all a friendly group, really, weren't we? So yeah.
I think it was probably something to do with the mentality. Like that group of players, like up here when you were all at Sunderland, had really good mentality. Like there was a lot of last minute winners. Like everyone wanted to play for the shirt. It was a positivity and fighting for the club. And I can imagine like Pulis probably instilled very similar at Stoke. That's probably why you got so many of you there.
Yeah, really? I think so. Yeah, no, as you say, I think myself. Again, going to Liam Dino, we came from them two, Oxford, Mansfield, myself from Chester, League Two, coming up to a big club, Sunderland, as I say, the stadium, the facilities, everything about the place. And by the time I joined, we were third in the league in the Championship. So you come to a club with big expectations, but at the same time, it's a club that's on the rise with a feel good factor about it when you obviously coming into a team who are pushing for promotion and in a good vein of form. So it helps you along as a younger lad. I was 20, maybe 23, 24 when I came up, but still young in terms of my career as a whole. But Mick was the one who signed me as well. He signed us, and he seems to have that knack of bringing the lads in from the lower leagues and giving us the confidence to go out there on a Saturday and prove our worthwhile at coming to a club like this.
What was Mick like as a manager? Because most of our former players have been very complimentary of him in the interviews with Mick, and it seemed like he's very honest man, very forward, exactly what you probably expect of Mick in front of the camera. What was he like behind the scenes as well?
Exactly that. From the minute I came in, I took to Mick.
Very straight talking, isn't
Straight talking, nail on the head. Yeah, as you say, you see his interviews after games. Even now, I've seen it yesterday. They play Wolves, and he's honest. Wolves deserve the win, and he just tells it as it is. I think on a Friday he'd call lads in down, his office down the corridor there at the training ground, and perhaps if he was looking at changing it or taking someone out of the team, he'd call them in, have a chat with them. He'd be honest up front, and it's what you like from a manager. I've found over my time, I've had a lot of managers now, and it probably riles a player more when you're probably expecting to go when you walk into the change rooms on a Saturday at 1 o'clock, 1:15. If the team hasn't been named and you've played the week before, you're perhaps thinking, well, I'm starting today, and then once it goes up on the board, it sort of deflates you when you see that your name's not on the starting 11. Whereas if he's named the team on a Friday, he'll let you know. At least you've got 24 hours to get your head round it, and you prepared yourself that you're going to be on the bench or not involved. As opposed, and Mick was honest like that.
Yeah. Obviously, when Mick left Ball, he came in to steady the ship. Kevin Ball, how did you find him as a manager in comparison to Mick?
Similar in a way, yeah. Kevin, which obviously tells it as it is as well. Ball, he was obviously around doing the 21s, I think the 23s, 21s at the time when we were there. So he sort of came in for a while and took over and just tried to consolidate us really after obviously Mick going, and lads are perhaps wondering what's going on around the club and that. But obviously our priority as footballers is to get on with the day-to-day stuff in terms of getting your training done, getting your prep done ready for a game on a Saturday, and concentrating on trying to put things right on the pitch, where you sort of let the things get sorted out upstairs. That sort of takes care of itself in a way.
Cool. We'll move on to a Twitter question. We've got one from another one of our editors, actually, Alex McCain. He says, do you reckon you could get into the first team currently? Back yourself down.
Yeah, obviously I'm still playing. I still feel good. I think I've turned out 30 games this season. Obviously 37 now, but
already.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
30 games already this season.
Yeah, 30 games. I think I only missed 2. I think I got sent off earlier in the season, so I missed 1 after that. But yeah, I'd love to come back up here and have a run out again at the stadium, before I go.
Come and get me, please.
Yeah, spin that round.
We do play with that 3 at the back, so if you're used to that as you came through,
slot, mate, not a problem.
There's the Chris Coleman Welsh link as well. So
So you never played with Coleman, did you?
I didn't know. And no, Chris took over. Obviously after Gary, and I spoke to Chris. It was during the summer, really. I think there was a friendly organised against Mexico in New York in the off season. So he called us and just mentioned that he'd be leaving a few of the sort of senior lads, myself, I think James Collins at the time, I think Rob Earnshaw was still in the squads then. He said, listen, it's going to be 45 minutes. I don't want to take the senior boys across the pond to play 45 minutes, and have a good summer, and then we'll sort of get together after that. And then I think after that, I might have been going to Forest then by that time, and I think when the sort of squad went up, I'm not sure if I was in his first squads or what had gone on, and I'd just had my little lad. And then I spoke to his assistant who he's had with Wales through his time, Ossian Roberts, and I said, listen, obviously I think I was 33, 34 at that time now, and I just said, I want to sort of concentrate on playing for Forest now. I've just gone in there and, try and prolong my career rather than, the travelling around and stuff. And that was sort of it, really. That was the only sort of time. And I spoke to Chris and that, but obviously he took them on to great things in terms of, carrying on from what Gary had started. And obviously had a great Euros last time round. And, obviously coming into the Sunderland job for him now, he's probably full of confidence of what's gone on, and it's a big task for him. And as I say, there's still a good chance. It's tight down the bottom there. A great result last week, and then hopefully he can continue it and get him out of the mire and consolidate this season, I think, and then sort himself out in the team in the summer in terms of getting some bodies in and look to kick on next year.
Were you surprised when he took the job, given the recent troubles at Sunderland?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I probably was. A lot of people,
you and everybody,
we kind of came into the podcast that week like, why has he done that? He's committed suicide, managerial suicide.
Yeah, I know. I think he's looked at it. It's a big club for him. His stock's probably quite high in terms of he might have had other opportunities in the pipeline, maybe. Yeah, with obviously teams who were faring a bit better than what Sunderland were when he took the job. But as I say, he's probably confident in what he's done. With Wales, and then he's looking at Sunderland as a whole as a bigger picture and thinking it's a big club. If I get things right now, I could get them out of the relegation zone this time round, and then next season have a go at it. Get them back up the right end of the table.
Yeah, hopefully. But there's an interesting parallel with Coleman. Coleman just seems to fit with Sunderland, and I think. And during your time, I had numerous couple of other managers who were quite similar, especially Kino. They just kind of fit, they just had the right mentality to do well at Sunderland. Yeah. And sometimes I've had managers in the past where you're just not quite sure on it. Yeah. So I just wanted to think when Kino was at Sunderland, he obviously built a squad with lots of passion, lots of energy, lots of commitment. Yeah. But what was he like as a manager? We've all heard stories. We've heard the famous Northampton story. Yeah. But what was Keane like man to man, away from the bravado? Maybe was it?
I got on fine with him personally. As you say there, I know I could name 2 or 3 players who'd say different to me, who I've played with since, and obviously I've had chats with it about stuff. But you take each manager as you see them. Do you know what I mean? If you're playing week in, week out, it's obviously easier to get on with the manager. If you're out of the team or you think you're out of favour, then the manager's probably the worst person in the world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, Roy was another one who sort of wore his heart on his sleeve in terms of he wanted things doing right around the place, right out on the training pitch. He sort of sussed lads out who weren't quite at the level what he wanted them to be at. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he did have a few fallings out. There's obviously things in the changing rooms where he did fly off it, but that's no different to any other manager who I've come across in terms of how they do things. And that was just Roy. But away from, what can I say now, the footballing side of it, when it was just like Roy in the hotel or on the bus and that, I used to have a game of cards with him down the front, and a few of the other players used to have a game of cards and stuff on the away trips. He'd be have a laugh and a joke with the boys and that, but he had a switch where he could sort of switch into manager mode, if I'm saying, and then getting to the boys on a Saturday.
You mentioned in an interview you did with the Roker Rapport on the site, which is really good. I'd encourage all the listeners to go and have a read of it. You mentioned that Roy used to get involved with the five-a-side, and this obviously just after he'd retired. Did he was he still be able to mix it, or was he competitive, or a few tackles going?
Yeah, no. Well, funny enough, he used to do it every sort of Friday. We'd perhaps have a young v old. All right. Dividing that, and
which divide were you on at that point?
I think I've crept into the young at that. I was at the high end of the youngs at that stage, I think I'm going to say. No, he used to be out there, and he'd be taking it serious and stuff. And I do actually remember that I think the Olds might have got hammered one. It might have been 4-5-0, say. And he sort of, like, that's enough, lads, that's enough for me. And I think he sort of hung him up and just sort of went to the touchline after that one. But no, boxes, you have the little sort of 10x10 boxes in the morning just to get you going and stuff, and he'd be in the boxes as well, and touching that, still have everything. As you say, he just not long finished playing himself, really, had he? So he's still keen and still like that side of it out there.
One famous game that you played in as well was the 2-1 Newcastle game, the first one at the Stadium of Light. Richardson's free kick. Yeah. Obviously, that was the first time we'd won at the Stadium of Light against Newcastle, wasn't it?
It was 28 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a long time. What are your memories of that game?
As you say, probably Kieran's free kick. Remember, who got the first for us? Wasn't Danny Higginbottom, was it? Oh,
Higginbottom got the 1-4.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, Dribble got the first, that's right, wasn't it? And they equalised, didn't they, I think? And then, obviously, Kieran's smashed the free kick in from the edge of the box. Great strike. I remember the celebrations, the noise in the stadium and everything. And then, not long after the final whistle going, and it's just for myself, I think it might have been my 4th derby I played, and I think I drew maybe 1 or 2, lost 1. A big relief, as you say, and having been up here for so long, sort of into my 3rd, 4th season, that you know what it means to the fans, and they let you know about it. Do you know what I mean? And then, as I said on the interview I done last week, speaking to players who played up in the old firms like Liam Miller, perhaps Ross Wallace, and a few boys who I've spoke to since, saying it's on a par with the atmosphere in the ground, and not so much hatred, but there's a bit of naughty banter between the two clubs and stuff. I think one of my earlier ones we played at St James's, and someone got through up the windscreen on the bus, and there was a big crack down there. Oh, really? So it was a bit hostile coming out of St James's and that. But yeah, that's what it's it's all about really. When you look back at these games, it's a big day for you.
Were there some players in the dressing room kind of prior to derby games that didn't really seem to get it as much as the kind of domestic players? I know, like Cisse, when he scores that goal, you can tell he's really bought into it. He really understands.
The commentator was literally he literally said, like, you can tell, like, these foreign guys may not get it, but Cisse just gets it.
No, to be fair to Jibril, out of some of the foreign boys who came in, I think Jibril was one. He did put it in training, actually, to be fair to him. He's a bit of a character off the pitch, and with his different colour hair and his beards and everything along these lines, and his cars or whatever, but he did actually train well when he was out on the training pitch. But yeah, I know what you're saying in terms of trying to get it into some of the foreign boys who come in, and they just think, it's just another game and that, whereas when you're British and you're up here, and as you say, there's a lot of the boys at the core of the squad who've been there for a while. You get it after a while. Do you know what I mean? You sort of, it's drilled into you everywhere you go. Fans letting you know in the build up to the game. Shirts are out in full force around the town, and people are in your ear and saying, "Come on, we need to win at the weekend, beat these black and white," and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's obviously getting you up for it, and you should be able to get
swearing's permitted. You can call them bastards if you want.
Right?
We cannot call them bastards.
Especially them. But we all know what the atmosphere is like in the city, but in the training ground, behind the scenes, is it any different to another game? Like you always say, like it is just another game, but it's kind of like it's all encompassing in the media, it's all encompassing in the town, in the city. Everything is on that. You spend your week working just to get through that, just for the derby game on the Saturday. From a fan's perspective, what's it like from a player's perspective? Is it like completely different to just a regular week training? Or does it kind of take over?
No. I think it's on your mind. So if you've had a game on the Saturday and then the following weekend the derby's coming up, from the Monday onwards, it's on your head. You're getting on it. You're probably getting widened in training. You'll do shape play. You'll do all different stuff out on the training pitches, and the gaffer will let you know about it more often than not. And I've had places where they'll put stuff up on the walls, what perhaps the opposition players might have said in the press, and just try and fire you up a little bit more and that sort of stuff, really. But again, gradually when you get to the Thursday and then obviously the Friday, you're really ready for it and you're at it. And then obviously driving to the game on the Saturday, I think you've got the butterflies in your stomach ready to go. And I think anyone who says they haven't are lying. Any player that tells you that I think you have it, I still get it now. Do you know what I mean? And I'm 37 and I've played loads of games, and you still get the match day butterflies in your stomach once you get out on the pitch. You're kitted up and you're ready to go. Then it sort of goes away a bit, in terms of that. But it's that adrenaline build up, what you sort of get inside you.
Do you get
to the game?
Do you take your sort of football home? Like, are you thinking about it all the time, or is it like a job to you?
Good question. No, certainly in my earlier days. I think the older you get, the more experienced you get. You relax a bit more. When I was up here, I found it tough. I think they beat us 4. It might have been Shearer's last game when he scored the penalty. That was 1-0 up at half time. We
That's
played
where it's swearing bringing up that.
Yeah, I know, he got injured and then retired after that, I think. But no, that was a tough one. That took me a few days to get over that one proper, because we were 1-0 up and we played well first half, and then we were all over the show second half. Got beat 4-1. That was probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest, game to take in my time up here, certainly. But again, as you get older, I hate losing 5-a-sides in training. It riles me now. I'll get onto the boys in training and they'll probably think, what's up with this fella? Like, but no, that's the way I am. You get some lads who try and perhaps coast through training a bit more, and they think, well, I can go easy Monday, Tuesday, and I'll just perhaps try a bit harder on a Friday. But that's not in my makeup, if you like. But I just think, every player is different. So I've settled over the years in terms of that, trying to let things slide. Again, perhaps the foreigners who like to take it easier in training as opposed to the British-based boys.
Do you know, when you look back at back to the Roy Keane era, that summer from 07 to 08 to 09, did the players like yourself, Whitehead, the sort of the ones who'd been there from the start. Did you feel a bit put out that he bought all these, Shimbonda, Diouf, he bought Cisse in. Yeah. He bought a lot of them players in who, I don't know, did you feel like you were getting replaced almost? Could you have that sort of battle? I mean, obviously you didn't, but...
Yeah. No, I know, in terms of, I wouldn't say you felt... I think he was obviously looking at bringing players in who had perhaps more experienced Premier League boys who he brought in. I was quite surprised at the type of character he brought in, knowing what sort of man Roy is.
Especially the Diouf one for me.
Diouf and Pascal probably out of those three. Gibral, when he first came out, I thought you put the three, but as I said previously, there Gibral actually trained well. To be fair to him, and he put the effort in. As you see that on the pitch as well, the others I didn't take to in terms of more so because as I said. The work rate wasn't there perhaps out on the train. It was more of a jolly up for them and they thought they could just turn up on a Saturday and it might happen. But and then obviously Kieran he brought in from his time at United. He knew Kieran well. I remember when he first brought Kieran, he was perhaps carrying a bit of weight and then he trained really hard in the off-season. He said he just went straight through and he come back in great shape and he worked hard and then he obviously got the benefits from that. But I can see that the players obviously he brought Liam Miller came in, Ross. I think Andy Reid, he might have brought Andy in, did he?
He was brought in
Johnny Evans. You sort of Johnny Evans as Danny Simpson. So he brought lads who he knew and with experience, and it helped the squad along. And obviously in his championship season, we went after Quinny had took us from the start of the season where we struggled after the first sort of 5 or 6 games. Then we went on a great run, perhaps 20 plus games unbeaten, catapulted us up to the top end of the table. Confidence obviously grows, and you just felt we were going out on a Saturday that we were going to win the games.
Yeah, it feels like you just built a right structure of the squad. You got a right set of different characters all together, which melded perfectly.
Yeah,
but with the start of that season, the time under Quinn, it's kind of like a little bit of an unknown quantity to a lot of Sunderland fans. It's not really been talking about, but he spoke about too often.
Yeah.
Could you give us like a little bit of an insight, like what it was like under Quinn, like what was he like as a manager, and maybe why it went wrong?
That's one of my lowest ebbs as a Sunderland fan, is losing 3-2 at the stadium to Plymouth. I don't know, did you play?
Yeah, I played in that one.
And I remember
it now. Yeah,
I remember thinking like it can't get any worse than this.
Yeah.
It does right here, right now.
It was tough. I think Quinny will say it himself. If he spoke to it since, and he's probably laughed and joked. He's probably better upstairs than what he was in the dugout type of thing. And that, it was. Looking back, it was a tough time. Obviously, we got off to a bad start, and then we were perhaps bottom or even second bottom, weren't we? By the time I think Roy came in, so the place obviously on a low, and then there was, as I say, a quick turnaround of players came in, and we sort of gelled pretty quick. And then obviously Carlos as well came in there. I think helped us, and then it was just a good feel around the place again, and it certainly just showed on the pitch on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Do you know Dwight York, right? I used to always be fascinated with him because he played like central defensive midfield for us, and there were some games like the Newcastle game we won, Arsenal final game of the year, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
How good do you think he must have been when he was in his prime to see him play central defensive midfield in the Premier League and be that good?
What was he like in training, like to shift to such a completely different role as well?
Yeah,
he deserves a bit of respect as well, coming from where he came from with a treble winning, to still have the drive and the motivation to do it.
Yeah, because I think obviously wasn't he down in Sydney or something?
Yeah, he was.
Just loving Roy gets the call. Roy rang him and got him off the beach or something. Was the shout, wasn't it? No, he great lad, Yorkie. Loved the laugh and a joke. Again, he's one of those I'd say in training is. He likes to laugh and a joke, but when it was time to work, he'd work as well. Do you know what I mean? He wanted to do things right and stuff, and he'd get onto the boys as well. He was comfy on the ball, wasn't he? For him, a training session game was like a game on a Saturday, if you know what I mean. He confident on the ball. If he did lose it, he just let it slide by, and he'd take care of the ball the next time round. And he was a good old head to have in the team at the time as well, I think. And as you say, looking at his time where playing at United with. Cole and Sheringham and those type of players were obviously on the same wavelength in and around the boxes as well. It was great to watch, wasn't it, back then? And obviously by the time he joined us, his legs weren't what they were then, but he was still as neat and tidy on the ball.
He's so good. Them just turning players all the time, like having the better of Fabregas. You're 37, mate. You shouldn't be doing that.
You seem to be not kind of get the team out of trouble, but he was just a great protection to the back four.
Yeah.
And like no matter who you yourself played alongside, or in a full back or centre back, he seemed to be like a calming influence.
Yeah. No, it was. Yeah, as you're saying, he'd want the ball whether he'd have a man, as you know about like Fabregas or whoever. He was a strong boy as well, Yorkie. Looked after himself well in the gym, and he'd have the ball under tight situations. As you say, if you're under the caution of games, which we would have been, certainly in the Premier League times there, and you're looking around for your characters in that, and Dwight was always one who you'd want out there.
So who would you say was kind of like the best player you played at with at Sunderland in terms of like technical skill and ability?
If
I had to put you on the spot.
I'd probably go with Steve Malbronk.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I think that's touched upon it, didn't you, actually?
You give him a ball in a porter cabin with 20 people around him, he still come out the door with it. Do you know what I mean? He never lost the ball in training.
Was it true about his? He was rumoured to enjoy a smoke off the field.
If he did, I didn't unless he didn't do it around the training ground and stuff. I never seen him.
It used to be reported that he used to go like out the back at half time and have a cigarette and then come back in. Yeah. I heard that a few times.
I know players who do, like, who have it, and they say a few French boys and stuff. But
he only lasts 60 minutes, Malbronk.
Yeah.
60-minute man. You always knew. You see the player warming up, was like, oh, it's going to be Malbronk coming on. Yeah, 60 minutes.
60 minutes.
It was.
He was technically a very good player, very quiet lad around the training ground. You struggle to get a conversation with him, but he just got on with it in training and trained well. And as I say, great to have on your team, and the little five-a-sides as well, and that, he's very technically gifted.
I wouldn't mind him on your five-a-side team, that'd be good. Question for myself here, kind of what do you pinpoint as being the key catalyst in Sunderland's decline from the Premier League? What do you pinpoint? What's the reason?
Tough one, because obviously I don't know the ins and outs, but again, I think they've obviously, since my time leaving the club, they've obviously tried to increase the calibre of player, brought a lot of boys, again a lot of foreign lads. I found it, looking on from the outside, similar to Newcastle when they went down, again that big foreign influx of players who, when it's tough down the bottom of the league and that, do they really want to turn up and roll their sleeves up and have to graft on a cold wet Tuesday night type of game? Do you know what I mean? Certainly, obviously you've had a big turnover of managers as well in the last few years, which never helps a club, I don't think. And again, obviously they flirted with relegation time after time, and it was coming for a few years. When obviously under Sam and a few of the others who've taken the job, and unfortunately it's caught up with him in the long run. And at the minute it's snowballed on from there. It's not good to see, and certainly I don't want to see him go down into League One. And for a club of this size, it'd be a shame if they did. But yeah, I just think from the outside looking in now, perhaps just the, I don't know, the work rate perhaps, and the foreign influx which is coming over the past, and do they really know what it's all about?
Trying to find the right character and personality for the team.
Yeah, I mean, you've obviously still got the characters here. You've got your John O'Shea still here, obviously Katz is in the middle of the park there. You've still got your Darren Gibson. You've still got a good core of players who I think you've got good experience, Premier League experience in that, and obviously they'll find it frustrating if they are the foreign boys there who aren't pulling in the right direction as them. And again, they'll probably think, well, if we do go down, I'll just get a move away in the summer or something. Do you know what I mean? And they don't feel it like the other boys.
Do you think the foreign lads kind of struggle with the North East as well? Because it's not the most vibrant, upbeat area when you compare London and Manchester and stuff like that. Do you think that's a factor? Or
maybe. I mean, I've heard that before, where in my time we were linked with players who, and then there were stories, they don't want to come up here because then the missus doesn't want to come up here for the shopping, and I never get that. I think if you're up here and that, got the Metro Centre if you want to go to the shops, you've got, I shouldn't really say Newcastle's not a bad night. Sunderland's improved, there's good restaurants about, there's stuff, if there's only so much you can do as a footballer on your off days anyway, so I never really understood that. If you're committing to a football club, 80-90% of your time is looking after yourself and getting prepared to do your best for that football club.
For me, that's like a flag towards a bad mentality anyway, when they're concerned about kind of what shops they can go to rather than what football team I'm going to be playing for.
Exactly. Well, you pay about £15 for a pint down London, don't you, as well? So I'm sure it's not all up here.
Well, that's the thing. If you think about the comparison of wages, if you buy a house in London, it'll cost you $2 million. If you buy one here, it'll cost you 200 grand. That's exactly,
buy 4 up here.
That's what I'd be thinking. You could buy a full house.
There's like a lot of parallels between the current team and possibly some of the characters in the dressing room when you were there under Keane.
Yeah,
like there's the difficulties we've heard of at Dong, Rodwell, Graben, Vaughan, when those two were here, being like disruptive influences in training. And obviously we've heard about the...
Who did you mention there? Vaughan?
Yeah.
David Vaughan.
No, James Vaughan.
I was going to say Vaughan, you're going to say Bruce for a goose.
So James Vaughan, Graben, and Dong Rod were like disruptive influences now.
Yeah.
And it seems to be there was obviously El-Hadji, Diouf and Chimbonda, like we've discussed, who were disruptive influences at the time.
Yeah.
Does that have much of an effect on the other lads in training, aside from like the anger? Like obviously they'll have a go like Gibson that time when he had a few too many and had a go. But a lot of fans kind of sympathise with that. But is there an outward effect on the team? Like, do a lot of the lads come together and pull together and be like, look, how about you need to pull your weight?
Yeah, no, I think it is like that, yeah. I think you've got one or two bad egg, shall we say, in the camp, then obviously you've got a 20-25 man squad, then the rest of you have got to just try and put it aside, especially when it comes to 3 o'clock on a Saturday, you know, if chances are that then perhaps not out on the pitch anyway. So as you say, once the whistle goes 3 o'clock on a Saturday, then the other 10 boys who are out there with you, you've got to be pulling in the right direction for the next 90 minutes and put whatever's gone on the training pitch, or if 1 or 2 lads have got the ump with the manager or whatever, then that's got to be out the window come kick off.
So the most famous one's probably the whole altercation with Anton, Ferdinand and El-Hadji Diouf.
Yeah.
Like, were you there for that? And do you remember
also touched upon in the interview a little bit, I think.
No, I was obviously I think we beat Blackburn on this Saturday.
It was a great game, 2-1.
Win, might have been, come in and everything. Obviously, everyone's high buzzing and stuff. And I think Diouf was on the bench, hadn't come on, and I think it was Ricky. Ricky's Razor might have been in charge at the time, I think, and he was having a bit of a pop at Ricky or something. If you don't want, if you don't want me, let me go, or something along those lines and stuff. And I think Anton just sort of said to him, "Listen, Diouf, just let it go. You know, it's not the time or the place really. We just had a good win, 3 points under our belts, and sort of if you want to speak to the man, just leave it till Monday morning or something." Then they've had a bit of a ding dong in the back room where we sort of warm up, and then 1 or 2 fisticuffs, I think. And
I can imagine Anton's getting the better of that, if I'm honest.
Oh yeah.
I didn't actually say. Obviously, I was in the change room. It was in the bit but where it went on, and so I think it was a 2-minute job. And I think, if I remember, I think Cleggy might have split them all. I think Cleggy's still here, isn't he? The fitness guy. Yeah. So I think Cleggy might have sort of separated it, and that was that really. But again, it's just what you don't need really, especially after we've just had a good win.
Do you remember you talked about the Blackburn game there? I remember I was at that away game, and there was rumours that Keane had left. He'd resigned just before the game, and sort of the only thing that we knew as fans was when he actually came out was like, oh, he obviously is still here. Right. And I think Quinn had to come out and deny it. But then he eventually went a couple of weeks later when we got beat up Bolton. Right. Did you know that was going to happen? Could you see Roy going at that point?
No, I mean, obviously I know you get whispers and stuff on Facebook and all the social media stuff and that, and what goes on and that, and you sort of believe half of what you read type of thing, don't you? But no, and I'd say obviously as a player again, there you go, and then you're turning up and you want to just concentrate on your training, concentrate on your game on a Saturday, and obviously you're going in, and if Roy was there, he was there. Do you know what I mean? In a way, like, and then obviously you perhaps do hear the whispers of rumours and is he upset with certain stuff and what is he whatever, and obviously he's quite a fiery character and maybe whatever, but. No, as you say, he was still there for that game and that, and there's always murmurings between the fans and stuff, and then a couple of weeks later, as you mentioned, then he's gone.
What was that like? I can't imagine that dressing room being a nice place after that 4-1 defeat, because we got hammered off Bolton. Yeah. I think Almanda scored a couple of goals.
What was scoring that one?
4-1.
Almanda.
No, at home.
At home, was it? Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was at home. Yeah.
Cisse scored early on, and then we just capitulated. We got beat 4-1.
Sounds a familiar story.
Keane was gone by Monday morning.
That's when Dino got booed for every single touch of the ball.
It wasn't really just for results with Keane, though. He really didn't get on with El-Hadji. I remember reading in Keane's book about El-Hadji coming in, taking over the club, and not really knowing a great deal about football. He's kind of texting Keane on the morning of a game against United at Old Trafford saying, "So 3 points today, Roy?" ? And Roy Keane's like, who the fuck is this idiot?
No, I can imagine things like that would rile Roy into when he's obviously trying to concentrate on the game and get the squad sorted and stuff, and that's probably not his cup of tea. You know what I mean? No. I think obviously with Roy, we used to turn up at hotels on away games, and you get the odd fans there, the autograph collectors and stuff, and then obviously he's got his couple of books at that time. I think he just had his one book out, and there was a couple of snidey copy books or something that were out at the time. I remember we were walking into a lift in one of the hotels, and there was about 4 or 5 of them come either in, and when we were all getting in the lift together, and he was like, "Listen, that's not my book. That's not my book." And he had a pop at 2 or 3 of them, and he goes, "That one is my book. I'll sign that one for you." Do you know what I mean? So just little funny, like looking back at things like that, really, and just remembering 1 or 2. There was obviously there's probably the story where. We had an away game, can't remember who we were playing now. We used to meet services down towards Middlesbrough, Wynyard services there. A few of the boys used to meet us there, and I think it was Anthony Stokes and Martin Fullup at the time, and Stokes had been late a couple of times prior to that. And I think it was 2 o'clock meeting for the bus there, and we were there now, and it was 2 minutes past 2 perhaps, and then the gaffer told the bus to leave because Stokesy and Martin hadn't turned, they were late for the bus. So as we're driving out of the services, Stokesy and Martin have pulled in behind us, and then they start following the bus. So the gaffer's turned round and he shouts, who's got one of their numbers and that? So I think it might have been Liam Miller said, I've got him. He's like, give him a ring and tell him they're not in the squad. So tell them to go home, they're not in the squad. So that was them two. They weren't in the squad that trip, and a couple of other lads had to come down to make up the numbers for the squad. So do you know what I mean? Just little things, funny little.
I bet that was mad for them. I bet they were like questioning the whole existence of the club after that, like being shut out in the cold by Roy Keane. I bet they were sweating a bit.
Yeah, but again, that was just his professionalism in terms of timekeeping. I always remember him saying timekeeping was his pet hate if lads were late, and I think off Stokesy off the top of my head had been late a couple of times perhaps, and he sort of he didn't forget, and absolutely just blew a fuse with him.
What are your memories of having a goal against Aston Villa disallowed?
Yeah, fuming. I remember it was 1-1 when it was the last kick of the game.
Last head.
Got above Scott Carson. I don't know how, as a player, how you can manage to outjump a goal if he's got an arm's length to reach above you and punch a ball as well. Hardly any minimum contact. Obviously, ball's gone in. I've ran off celebrating by the corner flag. Turned round, and I think even remember the ref. Steve Bennett was reffing that night. I remember. I remember, obviously, Roy was fuming with it as well after. Disappointed. That would have been my first goal at the Stadium of Light. And then, obviously, deflated it. It finished in a 1-1 draw, I think, and that would have been the winner. And then, funnily enough, I think the next season, my first goal at the Stadium of Light was against Villa.
Oh, there you go. Come full circle.
You had a goal disallowed against Fulham as well. We won that game 3-1, but you had a goal disallowed then.
And I scored just after that. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, weird how it works, things like that. Yeah, no, I did, score, and then I think Murph stood a cross up, and I've just put us one up there. Again, so that would have been two in the same game.
How's that feeling? I've always wanted to score a goal away from home, like if I did it. Because of that big away end, especially with Sunderland, it's got like 5,000 away fans. How is it when you score? Like, what is that actual feeling? Is it like an out-of-body experience? Or
especially for a defender centre-half, you say you don't get too many, really. It is, it's different, to get on the end of a set piece, a corner or something to put, especially if it's a goal that matters really in terms of, I think my first one was the year we went down. I think we were 2-0 down at Villa and we'd been relegated. I scored ahead of there for corner. That was my first goal for the club, but we'd been beaten 2-1, so it didn't really mean that much in a way. But my first one here was against Villa, put us 1-0 up and in full house at the Stadium of Light, the hairs are up on your neck and you're celebrating, and you don't know what you're doing for perhaps 20 seconds or so, really, especially as a defender, but how do you celebrate, But it's a good experience, and I've chipped in with a few goals over the years, and I've got 3 or 4 this year as well. Got off to a good start, 3 in the first 10 games, really.
Nice.
I've dried up a bit of late. I'm due one. I've been close.
The road in centre back.
It's nice to chip in and help the boys out with a goal or two.
They're the best goals to score as well. When you as a defender myself, when you're powering over your marker, you beat him tactically, you beat him physically, you get the ball, you connect it and power it into the far corner, and then just run off. Don't even same stride, run off towards your away end, on a home end. Yeah, that's the best for me.
I wish I could.
I can only imagine the feeling of doing that in the Stadium of Light.
I wish I could do that myself. I've never experienced this scoring a goal and running off in the same stride.
No goals.
Blowing by the time you got there.
Yeah, maybe the ball goes over the bar or something. But no. We'll move on. We've got Birmingham City next, away from home. We've got, they've got, who put this together? 8 points in 6 since we last played. Was that us or them?
That's Birmingham.
8
points in 6, but the 10 games before that we only had 4 points.
Yes, and they've conceded 6 in 6 in all competitions, 3 against Derby. Only won 1 in 8. St Andrews. Sam Gallagher has got 4 in 6, and Jota is out the team. He's not been very good. What are you saying for the Birmingham game?
It seems like Birmingham went through a little bit of an upturn, a bit of a revival of late. It's actually since we played them. They've went on a great run, and they won 3 games in a row in all competitions with 3 clean sheets at one point. And Cotterill's kind of just. I was speaking to a Birmingham fan the other day, and he's saying that Cotterill's just square peg, square hole sort of thing, round pegs, round holes. Instead of trying to play Sam Gallagher out wide, he's just putting Gallagher back into the middle, playing football, playing to the strengths of the team. And Gallagher's responded to that. Obviously, he got the goal against us, and then scored 3 more since then. And the Birmingham fans are saying he's a big man transformed. So I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a very tight game, just like the last one. But I think there's a couple of things in our advantage, and it's one of them is St Andrews' form, 1 win in 8. If we can frustrate them, play with pace, play with the intensity that we did against Hull, get out of them early, a couple of stray balls, a couple of stray corners, then their crowd's going to get on them. It's been like that all season.
I'm laughing here because we posted a photo on Twitter of us in the studio with Danny Collins, and Sean's put what's he doing sitting alongside David Williams.
I'm having that.
Sorry, Connor.
I'm the Roker Rapport bitch. That's what I am.
That's the Kevin Ball actually dubbed him the little bitch as well.
Yeah, he did. So,
but Birmingham, I reckon we could be in for. I said 1-1 last week with Nick Barnes, I think, or 0-0, one of the two. But I'm kind of like talked me way into a bit of confidence now. I don't know why.
We've signed no players. Nothing's changed.
That's St Andrews. But apparently their atmosphere's a bit poisonous at the moment. So.
It is.
Do you feel that as a player? Would you know? You played in that 15-point season when we won the last one. Yeah. Did you know that the other team was sort of smelling blood beforehand?
Yeah. If you're on a bad run like we are at the minute at Grimsby, funnily enough, we were great up until Christmas, up in the playoffs, and then we've picked up in the last 8 games. We've had two draws and 6 defeats. So our place at the minute is not great. They're onto the manager a bit. Again, we've started the last sort of 3 games at home. We've been great. First attack the opposition, they've scored. And then the boos come out and the singing about the manager going and everything like that. It obviously doesn't help, but I can guarantee as the opposition team come into town, the first thing the manager will be saying is just get on top of these early on and the crowd will turn.
Yeah,
which will be the same Sunderland going to Birmingham, as you say, as they've picked up recently, to say 8 points or whatever. I've always found St Andrews, everyone's saying about Birmingham like a big club. It always looks half empty anyway at St Andrews. It never looks like a good crowd in there. And again, I guess they're waiting to not to turn in a way, but if Sunderland take the lead early on there, then they'll be on top of the team, and perhaps the players might crumble a touch in that. So I'd say if Sunderland can go there and get out the blocks early on and get off to a good start and put them on the back foot, then hopefully they can come away with the points.
Fingers crossed. Do you ever get down to the Steam Light?
Last one I went to was it last year, the year before? Our season had finished, so the week after, obviously the Premier League went on a bit longer, and I think it was Chelsea. Might even been the season before. It was 3-2 Sunderland won 3-2.
Oh, what a game!
Very good.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it was a couple of seasons ago.
You need to come back if that's the good luck you have.
Do you sit in the regular seats or are you in the posh bit?
The poshy regular seats. I think Louise, who was obviously here at my time, she looked after us. Brought me Mrs.'s brother and father along. I say it's always been great actually. I just give her a call, and they do look after the ex-players well. Came along and went up into one of the lounges upstairs. Really, just had a drink before the game, and just seats just up behind the dugout. Really good spot and that, and good to come back and to watch the game.
You'll probably be on the ground in your hand at half time soon doing the raffle draw. I look forward to seeing you do that.
We've got a few Twitter comments. Lee Jenkins says for Brazil they should play Danny Collins. Peter says still can't believe we sold him after he was player of the season. Andrew Malcolmson says last proper left back we've had in ages. Dan says ask him to have a pint with me. Paul says in my opinion the most underrated player ever to play for Sunderland AFC. How does that make you feel?
I always rate you.
Underrated, but as you said, I picked up the Player of the Year award. Did
you get it twice, or was it?
Yeah.
You got North East Player of the Year as well.
Player.
You got North East
Writers Award.
When you'd left, though, didn't you? You picked it up as you'd left.
I got it. No, it was the
year before.
The year before it was. Yeah.
I
got seen.
I was reading an article.
Young Player of the Year.
I was reading an article saying you weren't sure if you were going to make it because you were so.
It was good to feel appreciated in a way, as you say, to get the awards and stuff, and certainly after coming from
it's well deserved as well.
Having only played 12 games for Chester in League 2, so we won the conference prior to the season I came here, so it was a big step in a way to come from having only played 10 games in League 2 to come to a team who were third in the Championship. Big step up in terms of we get 5,000 watching Chester and that, but to come to a stadium here where we were doing well and 40,000 plus in, it's a big step to take it up. And obviously the first year I came, it was tough to get into the team because the lads are doing well. Obviously I think George was in at left back, Stevie and Gary Breen were centre halves, and Righty at right back, and I think I played 11-12 games that year, so it was good to feel a part of it and to pick up a medal. And then obviously my next 4 seasons is where I sort of kicked on and played 20 plus games each, 30 plus games each season after that, and just felt that I grew as a player in time over the course of the time I was at the club. And we had obviously the up and down and the disappointment of the relegation season in terms of I think as I mentioned last week, the disappointing thing was I don't remember us being smashed week in, week out. You know, we didn't get it for 5s and 6s. It was always
1-0, 2-1,
2-1s, which is the frustrating thing. Again, I don't think Mick got much of a budget to spend that year, so it was fresh for a lot of the young boys, you know, who not experienced Premier League football before to take that step up. So it was a good learning curve for us. We went down, we came back stronger the year after with winning the league under Roy, and then I had another 2 seasons after that. Felt comfortable, and you know, playing week in, week out against, you know, some good tough players, you know, learning experience week in, week out, but felt good out there.
Where would you say you played your best football in your career?
Yeah, certainly probably my last couple of seasons up at Sunderland.
Since then, you remained at the Premier League for a while.
And Stoke, and then the time at Stoke, I had 3 seasons there. I played the first 2 seasons, sort of 50 odd games in the Premier League up there. Played every game at left back, really. Only played 2 at centre half, I think, there. And
what a waste.
Then after that, I obviously at Forest, and that went in there, enjoyed my time at first couple of seasons at Forest. You know, captain the club there for the first couple of years. I went in my 3rd year, had my nose pushed out a bit, and when Stuart Pearce came in, got back in when Doug Freeman took over again till the end of that season, and then obviously went on to Rotherham after that, and then Grimsby. So I've had, you know, I had a loan spell at Ipswich, which I enjoyed as well. Actually,
who was the manager there?
Paul Jewell. It was my last year at Stoke. I was on the bench for the first couple of games. Spoke to Tony and said, you know, can I look to get away on loan? I went to, I'd say, 3 months down at Ipswich, enjoyed it under Paul there. We were doing well, came back at Christmas, and then I went to West Ham for 3 months under Sam Allardyce, and then they went up in the playoffs that year. Vastly got the winner at Wembley, I think, and so that was different experiences. Perhaps, you know, enjoyed both different experiences and stuff. But yeah, certainly my 5 years at Sunderland tops everything. So
did you prefer left back or centre back?
Didn't mind either.
As long as you're in the team.
Obviously 37 now. I think the older you get, it just becomes more centre half anyways, perhaps more experience in reading the game as it terms in bombing around. You know, I think, funnily enough, in my time at Jamal Lascelles, now obviously captain at Newcastle, he just came into the team with me at Forest. He came in as a young lad alongside me. You know, you see him, he's a good specimen, he's a big strong lad, quick and that, but he was naive on the pitch in terms of, you know, positioning and stuff like that, so he's a good one to have alongside in terms of, you know, helping him in his early days and stuff. And you know, I think he'll obviously go on to be a top player, Jamal. I think he perhaps, you know, I don't speak too soon for him, but I think he will go on to play for England in a year or so. You know, he's a good pro, and he'll perhaps kick on.
We'll send that bit to the Newcastle fans.
Like the mentor sort of bonds that we've obviously got with Shane, mentoring Clark Salter and Browning.
Yeah.
And they've both spoke of like how important he is, like constantly communicating.
It is, yeah.
So
I mean,
from the other perspective, like, what is it?
Yeah, of course it is. And it's a step up for them boys from where they've come from as well. You know, having John there, he's been there, done that. He's won titles with United, and you know, probably 50 plus caps easily for the Republic as well. And he'll not just be on a Saturday where he's talking to him. I'm sure they'll do defensive drills like we do now. During training in the week, and he'll be giving them experience, you know, pulling them in, the ball's down the right hand side, you know, getting them tucked in, getting the left back tucked in, and just coaching them as well out on the pitch, and just brings them on, and they'll only gain experience from playing games and playing alongside players the likes of John.
Yeah. What do you see for the rest of your playing career this season or longer?
I still feel good, you know. As I say there, I've ticked off.
You've not really had many injuries, have you?
No, I only had one at Forest. I tore me ruptured my Achilles on me right, come down funny off the head and ruptured it, and so I was out for 10 weeks with that. I've had the old broken nose. Split.
I had didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, who caught me? Big John Crew caught me.
He was big as well.
So there's two. Yeah, I've done it twice while I was up here. Then Pear caught me. But yeah, you know, it's part and parcel of the job as a centre half, really. Isn't it? But I'll keep going. I still feel good. Try to look after myself the best I can, and you know, I remember it was actually funny enough. Kev Ball told me, your career's over. It goes like that, you know. So look after yourself, keep playing as long as you can, and because you'll remember the day once you retire. Where's my career gone? There, it goes quick, you know.
Yeah.
So took that on board. And
do you see yourself as a manager, a coach, or a pundit?
I'd like to obviously do perhaps a bit of media stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think last year I went down to Wales and done my B licence down there. So perhaps look at getting into the coaching side of it as well. And it'd be nice to. Not sure whether to work with kids in terms of the 16s, 18s, or you know, whatever, but look to get into that side of it, and perhaps be good to go back and give a bit of bit of experience to some of these boys, and you never know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, certainly for now, maybe better getting into the media side of stuff as well, and doing a bit of that.
David Prutton's got a nice cushy job on Sky at the minute.
And Danny's done well, to be fair. You know,
I can see you doing that.
Yeah, he's not bad, is he?
Scott Minto, he's doing all right.
No, it's good.
We should briefly touch on a new signing, Loa. I think he does a job for me.
He's what we need. He's got power and pace and abundance. And
I've played against him a couple of times down at Brighton.
Hard.
Good. Well, not actually played against him. He sort of plays on the left, likes to come in on his right foot. Good energy. Got good strike on him from him. A strong boy. Yeah. And can go past players as well. So I think he would be a good addition to the squad.
I'm pleased with it myself.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, for a free transfer as well.
Yeah, it's a short-term deal as well. He's got a contract at the end of the season, so it's
it's not like we're tied down to big wages with him.
Exactly.
That's why we've bought James Vaughan again.
Right. Well, we'll go on to a bit of a prediction for the Birmingham game just to round things off. Nichols, what you saying? Right. What do you reckon?
Well, I think a couple of the players that troubled us last time are missing this time. Jota's out of the team completely, and he actually
a lot of Birmingham fans have played his only good game of the season against Sunderland.
He was brilliant against us.
And then
checking Doy as well, who's a bit of a gangly, like 6'3", 6'4".
He's not playing in the middle, is he? Because what do we call him? David Davies is back.
Yeah, Davis is back, so Doy's out of the team, and Doy's not necessarily the most adept of players, but the verticality of their play with Gallagher up on O'Shea and then Ndoye in front of him, that physicality really isolated O'Shea in the home game. And without Ndoye, I mean, he's been linked with moves away to France, so he might not even be at Birmingham by the time we play them. I'm going to be pretty confident and say that we won't be stretched the way we were at home. So I'm going to put my neck on the line and say 1-0 Sunderland.
Connor?
I think we'll win 2-0.
Danny?
I'm going to have to go on the fence, lads. I think it'll be 1-1.
Oh, the fence.
1-1.
Oh.
I said 1-1 when we had Nick Barnes in last week, but I don't know. It's bad to change your change your predictions.
It'll both be 1-1.
I reckon we'll win. I'm not gonna give a score.
Gallagher is in form as well, so he might get a goal.
You never know. Final bit. What do you make of the song Sunderland fans used to sing about you? Where did that come from?
That's a good question. Does anyone know? No, it was. I mean, it's nice to have a song. I think, as is, you know, it's usually the flair players in the team that get the songs.
You were skillful.
You know, your strikers or your number 10s or those type of players who get the songs and stuff. But yeah, it was nice. And as I say, if you hear the songs, I think a lot of players sometimes pretend they don't hear what goes on the crowd on the pitch and that, but you always know what's going on in the crowd. I think and that, and certainly it gives you a lift and that, and you know your name being sang in a song, it gives you, as I say, the hairs come up on your neck and. It's nice to be a part of it.
Did you recall the first time you heard it? Because I can imagine as a left back, I would be like, "Is that me? Like Danny Collins?" I say,
Brazil,
Brazilian.
It's strange. Yeah, I've been linked in with Brazil. What's going on there? No, as I say, I didn't know. And I think there's some T-shirts came out of there.
Yeah, there was.
It was really good. I've got like one question. Like I don't know what I'd be allowed to say, but you obviously near your end of the time in the club, you played under Ella Short.
Yeah.
Well, when he was first bought the club out, and like, what was the player's experience of Short at the time? Like, obviously we mentioned Kieran had quite a riff with Short, and at the minute he's not exactly the most popular man in Sunderland. But was there any like insight you got to Short when you were there, or did you ever see him around much or anything?
No, I've got to be honest there. I didn't. Going back to what I said earlier on, we as the players and that, you just like to concentrate just on the training, on the playing side of things, trying to do everything right on there. You try and sort of keep out of what's going on the board. You obviously pick up snippets in the press and stuff, and you might get asked the odd questions and that, but as a whole you just want to concentrate on doing your job, and hopefully things take care of themselves in the boardroom and upstairs.
Yeah.
Kenny, well that brings to a close the latest episode. Danny, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it. Caught us off guard there.
No problem.
Connor, cheers for coming in as always. James, nice one. We're on, Danny did an interview for the site rokerreport.com. Very good, one of the best ones yet. I would encourage you all to go and have a little read of that. We've got a historical based podcast coming out for you early next week on Edwardian goalkeeper Lee Richmond Roos. We're on Facebook, just type in the Roker Report. We're on Twitter at Roker Report. Danny, do you want to give your Instagram a plug or?
No, I'm okay.
No, you're alright.
Yeah. I'm quite low-key.
So the offer's there. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.